This and say hello everyone and no one and welcome to another Rotten Movie Reviews. I can throw that over to here. Click on this thing real quick and do that. Click on that. Drag Johnny back over. And today that we are on here, yep, it shows that I'm live and you don't. And there was my volume. I still have you guys muted in that whole scenario, but today we're going to be reviewing Dogma. James may or may not be here. He may have end up taking an old man nap, which people do. I wish I could, but naps don't want to take me, so I will unmute my co-hosts and introduce them. And with me, as always, is Tier Alexander. How you doing, buddy?
I'm great, my friend. How are you?
Oh, not so bad. We got Angela with us. How you doing, sweetheart? I know James usually calls you that.
I just finished a really fun movie ride, so I am happy.
And like I said, James is plausibly having an old man nap, which, hey, happens to the best of us. So also joining us tonight is Johnny Hellcat. Johnny, how you doing, bud?
Not too bad. Things are going.
That they are. And then I'm going to switch over to the nice little movie roll or picture slideshow. And today we are reviewing the 1999 film Dogma that majority of people have probably seen, except for Tier had not.
No, I haven't.
This was a movie written and directed by Kevin Smith, which is one of his few good ones, and you know it still has some of his weird shit in that whole thing for the way his issues are. You want to have the actual religious discussion, there's a few things in there that are pretty much outright blasphemous, but it's a big whatever to most people. And I still will say my favorite little thing or gee whiz thing that I know about this was through a Kevin Smith stand-up thing that he was talking about, and how he told Jason Mewes that he needs to shape up and be professional because they're going to have like real actors on there like that Alan Rickman guy. So to impress Alan Rickman, Jason Mewes learned the lines of every single character in the movie.
Wow.
Wow. Talk about dedication.
Well, he was told that it's like you have these professional actors, and then the cool thing about Alan Rickman is the fact that his first actual film was Die Hard.
He was Hans Gruber.
Yep.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Actually, for this movie, and I listened to this on the DVD commentary, where everyone who was wearing the wings took them on and off between sets.
Mm-hmm.
Alan kept his on the entire time.
I could see him being a bit more of a method actor.
Because I can see him wanting to because I can only imagine how much time it takes to set those up, to get them, take them on, put them on, take them off.
Oh yeah.
And then just the time involved. He's like, well, let's just see how heavy this rig is. It's heavy, but
fuck it, it's a good workout.
Yeah, let's do this.
I'll survive.
And for anyone who is ever wondering, the quick story or little recap of this one is basically you have two angels, Bartleby and Loki, played by Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, because they're in pretty much everything that Kevin Smith has done. At least Ben Affleck is. And that whole thing. But they basically send a thing of how they can get back into heaven, and they end up the heaven ends up calling on basically one of Jesus' ancestors. Descendants. Yes, thank you. It's words. Me English good.
Words are hard.
And the whole thing is them going through to do that. So it's that whole thing is if they, become human, cross through whatever to remove their sins, and then if they die, they go to heaven, and that proves God wrong, thereby ending all of existence. Da-da-da. And it's still a fun movie considering the fact it had a damn good cast in it. I mean, Ben Affleck, Matt Damon, freaking Bethany is Linda Foriento. She's an okay. Barrett Hackett, Jared Finnegan. Oh wow, that whole thing. The triplets were weird. George Carlin was in there.
God rest his soul. And Alan Rickman's soul.
Yeah, Alan Rickman. Obviously, Jason Lee. Don't know really why he put Janine Garofalo in there, but he did. And then it also obviously has the ever so freaking hot, in my opinion, fucking Salma Hayek. Or Hayek?
Hayek.
I don't know. Alls I know is, good God, that woman.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. What were we talking about again? We'll just go over.
I believe you were talking about Salma Hayek.
I can go with that one.
You were talking about something.
I mean,
Some movie was involved, I'm not sure, but we were talking about Salma Hayek.
serendipity.
I don't the appeal of her. What?
But otherwise, it's a classic movie in my opinion. They've had so many. It's been played a lot, and like I said, most people know of it, except for Tyr had not seen it for some odd reason. But well, Tyr, since you were the only one who hadn't seen it before, what's your opinion?
Oh, that movie is fucking great. I can see some early precursors to some things that would later come out. Fucking Kevin Smith and shit. You can clearly see some shit there. But aside from that, it was a fucking great movie. Matt Damon as Loki is fucking awesome. Chris Rock is fucking awesome. The entire cast is fucking awesome.
Oh,
Alan
yeah.
Rickman stole the show.
Well, Alan Rickman does that. And,
He literally steals the show.
and on that one, and Angela, what's your opinion? Since I think you were the one who really you or James recommended it.
Of Kevin Smith's films, this is actually my favorite. I thought it was incredibly well done, dealing with your faith, your questioning of faith, the effects that loss have on us, and how we deal with God in it. And basically just the fact that faith is different for everyone, no matter what religion you choose to follow or
Don't follow.
your faith independently.
And Johnny, you?
Damn it, Frank.
See, that's what happens when you put me last. The cats revolt.
I'm Kitty.
Well, technically you're not last because we're still waiting on James.
That is very true. But no, I think Angela pretty much nailed on the head. It's very a good telling of how people interpret to give it the message, if you want to call it that. And that's pretty much, I think, I liked it when I first saw it because it kind of nailed my perception on religion. Even growing up Catholic and going through a few bad experiences, pulling doubt in, and then I just decided to label myself the Agno-Catholic.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do I want to ask what an Agno-Catholic is?
An agnostic Catholic.
Oh, okay. A questioning Catholic.
So a Catholic?
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. Like
maybe just with like 30% less guilt.
and like 8 more steps.
Or is it 30% more guilt?
Well, I actually was thinking about an Adam Ferrara joke to mention when I saw that you guys were watching this, and he has one that goes, the Catholic religion has a catchphrase. It's called, "If it feels good, stop."
Yep.
And no, it's one of those like damn it, stupid wire. It's one of those things I had where it was how to explain it. There are too many things like that. You can. Oh, hi. I'm on the call. Yeah. That's Angel Cat, everyone.
Oh, couldn't hear her, but hello.
It's going through life, you experience stuff that's just like, it brings doubt into question.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see something in the news that's just like, someone's running across the street and a bus, slams through the street and just misses them by like
they missed their isekai moment.
A half an inch, and it's just like it's just you see it, and it's just like woof, like Matrix style, like pulling back, and it just they barely are able to walk away from something.
Or you go through it yourself where it's like you almost get hit by a semi on a bicycle, but luckily you fall the opposite way. Instead of into the semi, you fall into the grass.
Yeah. That was me. I can cite actual example where a couple of friends of mine and we're gonna run to his one of our friends' house, and he goes I was gonna jump in the back of this guy's truck and sit on the spare tire that he had back there.
Mm-hmm.
And we started driving, and he stops the truck. And my friend he goes, "Why don't you just bring your car? That way, if we need to go on a beer run later, we can just take your car, go on the beer run, and then meet up wherever." Just on a whim that he had that thought.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, sure. That makes not sense. A bad idea.
That sounds plausible.
Well, as I'm following him, as he's driving to the house, a drunk driver pulls out in front of him, and they end up in a head-on.
Ugh.
And where I was sitting on that tire was ejected from the back of the truck by about 20 to 30 feet.
Oof.
Damn.
And I'm just like, dude, that.
Oh, yeah.
I would have been sitting there.
Bro, I'm there with you. I'm another person statistically should have been dead before 17. I bring up the 17 one because that's when my appendix ruptured, and 2 weeks later I went to the hospital. Statistically, I should be dead from that. But there was enough other ones that happened before that of my own stupidity to where I probably should have died, but didn't.
So I have only 2 stories, and it involves me and my best friend.
To go back in, I know that you wanted to get into that, but to go back into the movie thing for a moment, since I just went with it. I first watched it when I was still technically, I guess, would be more of an This is where I get into the argument kind of with Monkey. Well, no, it'd be technically a Christian in that whole thing, but it'd be closer to the agnostic thing. Because technically, if you're going to, until the definition, everything got changed, all the agnostic part meant was without knowledge. And this is just irrelevant shit into it. But I found this movie to be fun in the whole aspect that while it did make some fun of some of the aspects of religion and mostly of some religious people, it didn't necessarily make fun of the fact of having faith or religion. It was that whole thing of, we're going to take the piss out of someone who is religious without necessarily taking the entire piss out of the religion itself.
Yeah.
Like, you can, like, it's not saying it's bad to have your faith, it's just saying, hey, don't be a fucking twat.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because then I had my whole thing in the military to where it's like I ended up becoming an atheist, and I was a raging asshole for like a good year and a half about it. And then I hit that third stage of it to where I'm like, as long as you're not a cunt, I don't care. I will rag on my friends that are religious, and they can rag on me for not believing. And now the closest thing I am to is a deist anymore.
See, that's where I am. I'm a deist. But I don't care about your religion. Like you said, as long as you're a decent person and not an asshole, I can give two shits who you pray to. Like, pray to whoever the hell you want. You know, if you just pray and not a dick, you're still a great guy, and there's no bones against anything. But if you're a raging fucking thunder cunt, fuck off.
A couple of my old coworkers when I was working my night job, we were talking about going to college, and they were in a sociology class together.
Mm-hmm.
And so they had their teacher had an idea to put this debate together about anything. Like, you can just bring up something, and there will be like a debate on, who's right, who's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the gals got in there. She's like, Christianity is the only religion that should be followed because of this. And he had mentioned that he goes, and the guy who she was debating against, who was one of my coworkers, and he goes, well, what about Muslims? It's an Abrahamic religion, kind of has the same basis as Christianity,
Mm-hmm.
as far as a moral system, and like, unless you want to delve into like deep, and I'm not gonna do all that garbage. I'm not that big of an asshole, but he goes, some Muslims, they incur that fear that this guy's gonna want to do something. He's like, majority of Muslims, they just want to be left alone.
Yeah.
Great.
He's like, I just want to go to work, go to church, come home. That's it. That's all I want to do.
I want to live a moral life according to the standards I've set for myself.
Exactly.
And that can be respected. It's just when you try to enforce those standards on everybody else.
Yeah.
When you start, all right. So
he also had another one of my coworkers convinced that he had a wife in other countries.
Oh Lord.
He's like, yeah, I gotta save up some money for my vacation. He's like, where are you going? Japan. I gotta take care of my other wife.
Kids.
And she's kind of looking. She looks at him. She looks at him like, what? And she goes, yeah, I'm a Muslim, and this is how we do it. And she looks at me like, is this a thing? And I just go, oh yeah, like, because I knew for a fact that I thought it was because he was selling it, but I'm like, because I knew his wife. And I'm like, I don't think your wife would like that joke, but I'm gonna go with it. Like, I was like, oh yeah, it's a religious thing. They do that kind of stuff all the time. And she's just like, she's so just mind blown. And we carried that on for maybe about 45 minutes. Just had her going.
Oh man,
That is a serious joke right there, talking about two different wives.
Oh,
and we had good.
According to the joke, he had 4.
Four?
Ouch.
Yes.
There's one to cook, one to clean, and
Well, there's the family in America. There's the family in Japan. There's the family in, I think, South Africa, and there's one in, I believe he said Spain.
Man, he's international. He.
Oh yeah, he's like yeah, I this is my second job. I just lost my third job because like he had this whole thing just going, and I'm like, I'm with this. Let's go for a ride. Like, let's do it.
Let's take her for a ride.
I don't know where we're going with this, but by golly, I'm in.
And joining us somewhat late is James Colley. James, did you enjoy your little old man nap?
Well, yes and no.
That's the way it goes sometimes.
Yeah. My oxygen got to me, so.
Yeah, that happens from time to time.
Yeah. So I thought I'd try something different because I bought an extension for my headphones because my headphones were like on a 4-foot cord.
Mm-hmm.
So I bought this extension and I've got like 25 feet.
Nice.
So I can sit and watch the movie from the comfort of my bed.
Oh, there we go.
That's how
Bad idea.
I mean, depending on what you use for that, if you're just using a laptop for most of it, you could just put the laptop on your lap on the bed.
Oh no, I'm using my desktop. So I just turned the monitor
Mm-hmm.
and I was watching. And I wasn't feeling real super good. And I think my oxygen just dipped on me, and here I am. So I got a little dizzy, and I apologize for.
No worries
Listen.
about it, man.
Yeah, I got to where the Gargothian was, and that's the last thing I remember.
It's a shit demon.
Shit demon.
Well, at least it wasn't like. And our next guest is James Colley.
Right?
Who the hell did that?
Who would do that?
I wonder who would do something like that on someone's stream.
Who would fall asleep on a stream?
I
Tier.
apologize for nothing.
Mr. Adam.
Mr. Snorblax.
I apologize for nothing. Nothing.
We're not asking you to. We're just laughing at
What
you.
did one?
It's just one more thing to give you shit about. Mr.
See,
Phasmophobia.
See, James,
Yeah.
this is exactly why. This is exactly why you are my least favorite.
Of course I'm your least
sleeping in the
favorite.
van.
I was. It's called a tactical retreat.
Tactical retreat my ass.
Oh,
You saw something in there that made your ass turn white and left.
Yes, it's called the fucking ghost.
another little tidbit of history, or not history, but like trivia. I don't know if you guys knew for this movie that Kevin Smith actually made signs for it and joined one of the protests of this movie.
Oh,
Yep.
wow.
Yep.
Yes,
Really?
he did.
Yes. And he also got fucking interviewed for it.
Yeah, on
Really?
his local TV station.
His
there
local
in
TV.
Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was hilarious.
Like they were protesting the movie, or like
That they didn't realize it was him.
Yeah, they didn't recognize it was him. He was on it, his wife was on it, and this was before his daughter was born. So yeah, him and his family went down there and was holding up signs protesting. And he said-
protesting the movie or protesting like
They're protesting.
Nice.
He was protesting his own movie.
Yeah, they bleeped
Oh,
out his rather choice words. But he says he hated Kevin Smith. He's a piece of shit, and he has no business talking about fucking religion. Yeah,
That's like a very similar thing that happened with like the Life of Brian, except for I think it was Cleese that like he actually got a chance to talk with some of the clergy that were originally protesting, and he's like, "Have you watched it?" They're like, "No," and he's like, "I will pay for your ticket, or I will get you a viewing. Watch it, then give me your opinion. If you want to protest, protest. And after the whole thing, like, the preachers were just like, yo, there's no need to protest this. Like, quite literally, this is not anti-Christian. This is not anti-God. Like, it's an okay movie.
It's Dickus.
Now, I still think my favorite tidbit of, like, trivia for that one is the fact that for when they were saying the biggest dickus, they actually went through, like, 13 different extras because they basically told them that they would pay them, I think it was like $200, it was like $200 plus or something, but they weren't allowed to laugh or react as he went through that. And he would go on for almost 20 minutes most of the time.
Yeah.
And usually it was less than 2 minutes and they broke down.
Dickus.
Dickus.
In continuity. You wascallion.
Well, I got kicked out of my first movie theater Friday.
For what?
Really?
Snoring. Apparently, I'm going to have to carry an oxygen machine with me because I went to see John Wick 4.
Oh, yeah?
So the first 20 minutes of it had one of my pass-out attacks. Apparently, bothered somebody during the matinee. That's part of the reason why I went to the matinee is because I didn't want to bother anybody in case that happened.
And still had some fucking Karen.
Yeah. I got pulled out and told them what was going on, said, hey, we understand, but if it was you in the same position, just on the other side of the fence, that's what I get it. So, yeah. Paid $34 to see a movie and...
Oof.
And that's tanked.
So,
Dang.
so 20 minutes of a movie, but I got popcorn and my soda.
Thanks, Obama.
Was it a good 20 minutes?
It was pretty good, actually, yes.
Well, think of it this way.
But everything that I seen was in the trailer. The part where he's in the Bowery.
I still have to see it. I haven't seen any of it.
Well, the previews where he's hitting that piece of wood like in Rocky 3.
I think I've probably seen a whole 5 seconds of the trailer.
Okay.
Yeah. There are. It's a John Wick movie, as was said in. I think it was on your stream, well, over your multiple streams because something was up with your computer and your mic. I can't remember who it was too. I was like, John Wick is not a good movie. John Wick is a great action movie.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
And it had some really good visual effects in it. I mean...
But it's that whole thing that because I already know what that it's Keanu Reeves and what he went through for, it's like, I don't care. I'm going to watch it at some point. So the trailer is irrelevant to me. The only thing I'm still slightly pissed at is the direction it went. I still think there should be only like 4 of the high rollers left. They shouldn't have just had the one that got bit in the dick by a dog and then shot in the leg.
Still haven't seen any. I've only seen the first one.
I haven't seen any of them.
It's pretty good. For what I've seen of it, it's... They amped up the action.
Oh, it's what they're gonna do because it that's the whole thing. Is it's kind of like a kaiju film. It doesn't really need a whole lot of storyline. It needs a whole lot of action. You need, Keanu Reeves' character John Wick killing a lot of people.
Right.
Kind of like in a kaiju movie, you need giant monsters fighting.
The highlights of the movie were in the trailer. So the first 20, 25 minutes of it, it's some of the trailer with some parts you didn't see.
Yeah, your opening for every John Wick movie is basically your preamble and the setup for why all the action's going to happen, and then it goes, and then has a little bit of lull to explain like the final portion of the action.
Yeah. See, this takes up like a couple of weeks after Parabellum ends. So, other than that, it is what it is.
Again, I need to see the movies.
Well, we could always do that at some point because I actually do own the first 3 movies on Blu-ray. And
I also have the first 3 movies from totally legitimate sources.
No. I'm not even just going to say totally legitimate sources. I bought the Blu-ray DVD combo.
Yo ho ho and the bottle
That's
of
how
rum.
much I actually like those movies. Like, I'm just straight up fucking buying them.
I thought about that, but I didn't have any movie. I didn't have any money.
Yeah,
I want to say the
first
Abel
three
can't
were
cut off his funds for the
I
month.
want to say the first 3 movies on Blu-ray and a pack are available for like $25 now.
yeah. Because it's been, what, 2 years since Parabellum?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Because I still at some point got to pick up the Mummy trilogy because, well, the first 2 movies I like. The third is I don't even really remember it ever happening.
It's 4.
There's 4.
It's the 2 with Imhotep. No, it's 3. You're right, and
Yeah,
then the one
the
with fucking Jet
dragon.
Li.
No, with Jet Li.
Yeah, the Dragon Emperor or Dragon Throne, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, the one that doesn't have, I think it's what, Rachel Weisz or whatever. So it was like, I like the chemistry between her and Brendan Fraser.
Yeah.
Let's
But
see.
I will still say, going back to this movie, since we go all over the place like we always do, I still think it's funny the fact that he's had, other than in Clerks, the first movie, and I think in one of his others for Kevin Smith, the movie franchise has been in all of them. And I do like the fact that it kind of seemed like beforehand, 'cause it might have been with this one. I gotta go back down on the writing and that whole thing. But, you know, the golden cow, or if you know the whole story with the golden calf statue. Yeah, because we have Clerks, Mallrats, Chasing Amy, then Dogma. Then after Dogma, pretty much everything has that in there that falls in that. So Jane Silent Bob Strike Back had that. Maybe Jersey
Yeah.
Girl, I'm not quite sure. Clerks 2 had that.
Jersey Girl didn't really hit on movies. It was more its own film,
Yeah.
but because there's no Jay Silent Bob in that.
See, I like the fact that Jane Silent Bob are the only constant in all the movies. Like, technically, they're fucking apostles. So, if it follows the logic of the timeline of movies, in Clerks 2, they should be fucked. They should know shit.
Well, that's the thing, is this is kind of more of a side thing. And
the
that whole
Mallrats-
thing. But the whole thing as well is, like, they're always going to be in, they're not always, but they're usually going to be in the Kevin Smith movies just because it's what it was. Because, like, Kevin Smith originally wrote himself to be the Jason Mewes character, to be the Jay.
Yeah.
And then realized he can't fill that role. He's not meant to fill a role like that. So he made himself the Silent Bob. And when he used to work at whatever store it was and he was putting papers together for when they would go out on the rack at the store he was working at, the video place or whatever, that's where he met Jason Mewes, and Jason Mewes was helping him.
Yeah. But, see, it was during this time that Jason Mewes was the part where Jay has got his head down on the table. It's because he's so fucking stoned that he can't hold his head up. You know? He was on a heroin at that time.
Mm.
And he tried as hard as he could and to stay sober, and he couldn't do it. But even in his stoned state, he knew not only his lines but Rickman's line.
Oh yeah, I brought that up for Jason Mewes, is that he freaking he learned everyone's lines.
Yeah,
I mean, he still gave a hell of a performance.
Oh yeah, yeah. But this was when he was on his downward slide, and that's part of the reason why you don't hear about Jay and Silent Bob in Jersey Girl. You don't hear about him again until because Jay had to step back because this was during his recovery period.
I think the only movie he did during that time was, I can't remember the name of it, but it was a really crappy horror movie.
Zack and Mary.
Well, that was in
He said it was
2008.
a really crappy horror movie.
And Zack and Miri Make a Porno was after Clerks 2.
Yeah, that's after he got clean.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, he didn't get clean until after. See, he had just gotten out of rehab and was couch surfing with Kevin Smith when they were doing Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. That was his recovery.
Okay.
And because where they were shooting at the movies parking lot, they were going to tear that whole hotel and all that down. So they got the location really cheap.
Uh-huh.
And he started bringing stuff in to like make his own little pad. He says, dude, you know, they're going to tear this down. He says, after we leave, he says, I know. And he says, okay, so you're not going to get really attached. 14 days later, he was really attached.
Well, we know after that he did have a Jason Mewes was in Scream 3 is Jay. He was also in Vulgar. In Pauly Shore's Dead. Apparently he was in this video called Powder Up Here.
He was in Powder, that weird, trippy movie.
The Electricity movie?
Yeah,
I don't think it's that because it just says Powder and then it's the colon Up Here because he was evil villain. So I think it was more as just a short video or something. Then he was in My Big Fat Independent Movie as the voice in the Answering Machine. He was in Feast as the Edgy Cat. James Silent Bob Degrassi, High Hopes, then Clerks 2. Then after Clerks 2, it was Vengeance, Pleasure Drivers, Minority Team, TV the Movie, Bottoms Up, Scarface, The World Is Yours for the video game, The Tripper, Nether Beast Incorporated, Head Case, Bitten, and then in Zack and Miri Make a Porno.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then it goes to a bunch of other shit. I'll still have to say, frickin' Kevin Smith does have a few different credits into his writing.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong, Kevin Smith was the leader of the stoner comedy genre after fucking
Cheech and Chong.
Exactly, after Cheech and Chong. And then he became a shitlord. Sorry, not shitlord. A piece of shit.
He became a fucking simp.
Yes.
Well, after his heart attack, and he went vegan, you know. But if you're going to take the mighty celery to be your Lord and Savior, you're going to believe anything.
I mean, from everything I know of, fucking Rob Zombie went vegan, and he's one of the few vegans who like looks better as a vegan than he did before being a vegan.
All right, so you can. I don't knock veganism. I don't knock any of that. You can be whatever the fuck you want. Just don't be a dick. That is my only fucking criteria. No dicks. That came out wrong.
It's like Kevin Smith is just one of those ones that he was doing whatever he could for the most part to get into the movie industry. And I do respect the hustle that he went through to get there. But then he just kind of, it seemed, wanted to do the same thing so many do, where they went through the whole process, got to where they were there, and then they wanted to shut the door behind them. Other than like a few of the people that they came up with. And for, Kevin Smith, that would basically be, it's like he's had like Ben Affleck in so many of his things, fucking Jason Mewes, Jason Lee. There's like one other dude who I can't remember that was in Mallrats, which was, I still think, my personal favorite.
Never seen Mallrats.
The guy in Mallrats was one of the London twins.
I think it was Jeremy.
Yeah, Jeremy.
Okay.
Jeremy or Jason?
I think it was Jeremy.
It was Jeremy. I'm looking at the thing.
Or, okay, cool.
Yeah, because he was
Jason
TS.
did more reasonable, not reasonable, but serious roles. And Jeremy ended up heavily in drugs. But,
Tiss.
yeah.
Nah, sorry, that's a little habit that I've given myself to where it's like I'll go through and if I end up saying but I end up ending it with a tiss.
But
Because then I can remember to make sure I share the sound pad, so if you guys have it up, I can always go which I have no idea if you have it up.
I just...
Now.
As soon as you put it up, I open it.
Oh, then you guys get to hear my newest sound clip that I put in there. So do any of you know the YouTuber Windigoon?
I don't think so.
Okay. This has actually been one of the funner ones in that whole thing, because the last video I was watching of his was the Bible Theory Iceberg. And I had also gone through his Conspiracy Theory Iceberg playlist, but I'd also gone over it because Sinatra was the one who recommended him with his biblical fan fiction, where he goes over the Divine Trilogy, or otherwise known as the Divine Comedy. So you have Dante's Inferno, Dante's Purgatorio, and Dante's Paradiso.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes over Paradise Lost, some lost books are considered lost books or unincluded books of the Bible, and then Paradise Regained. But going over his conspiracy ones, I can't remember which tier it was on. I think it might have been 7. He goes over like the plausible weaponization of soy, since hopefully I'm not the only one who really knows that soy has been used as an estrogen supplement.
Yes.
yes.
Okay, well, because of the plausibility that it could be weaponized, here it goes.
Government-sanctioned weaponized femboys.
What are they going to do? Slap me with their damn purse?
Well, just the way he went into it. Just the way he went into it, and you'd have to watch the entirety of it. This is the only reason why I'm going through and recommend it, because he brings up the weaponization of it. So just because of that, that is my favorite out of context clip from him. It's just the
Government-sanctioned weaponized femboys.
You know.
I caught nothing.
Do you have the thing up?
I do not.
Yes, I'm
That's why
sharing
you do
SoundPad.
That would explain it.
Yeah, I meant to have that shared earlier and completely forgot about it.
Johnny, I got a great question for you. It's one that I've been wanting to ask you, and I just haven't found the right time to ask it.
Fire away.
When are you going to play, it's not Legend. It's something of Gaia. It was a Super Nintendo game.
Oh, Illusion of Gaia.
Yes. When are you going to finish that?
Actually, I never got it started.
Just that
for
one
some-
little time that you played it?
Yeah, that one little time I was playing it, I was having issues with my controller because the one that I was using is for my PlayStation 4, and I don't know. I think it's because they're so old that the plug-in doesn't sit correctly anymore.
That, or it might be that it needs a new cable.
Well, those cables are pretty new, so I think it's the USB 2 port. I was thinking of
on your computer or on the controller?
on the controller itself.
Oh, the micro, because it'd be the micro USB.
Yeah,
Because like I still got PlayStation 2 controllers that are still work great.
yeah. I had it's one that I use for it's a wire in one that I use, but I couldn't find it at the time. But whenever I have issues with the controls, that's usually the one I fall back to. But I couldn't find the control for it, so I really didn't get to play much of the game except for I think the intro, like.
Right.
And then you like when it unplugs and then it plugs back in, it'll act like there's no controller. So you have to like shut down the emulator, restart the emulator, and then if you happen to unplug, then you have to start the whole thing over again.
Oh,
it's like,
wow.
oh my god,
What
That's a whole lot of work.
Yeah,
Oh my.
that is
a lot of work.
that is a whole hell of a lot of work that I don't feel like dealing with.
and that's mainly for the that's the ZSNES. I do have a backup emulator that I play on that too.
Yeah, I can't remember what I have for the emulator for that. My emulators I use the most are like the PS. I got the PlayStation one, so my PSP emulator, because one of the PSP games I like to play from time to time, but I always forget where I'm at in it, so I had to start the fucking game over.
I have the
What game is that, Roger?
the fan translation for the Suikoden game. I downloaded the translation for it, so I've been meaning to play that.
Well, for it's the PSP game. It's one of the Spectral Souls games, and I think it was like originally a PS1 or maybe like an early PS2. I can't remember. It's kind of like the tactics games, so like kind of like Ogre Tactics or Final Fantasy Tactics would be the one that most people probably know. And when I originally bought it on its disc, it took forever to load on my PS1 or not my PS1, my original PSP, and even on a PSP 3000 series still took forever. So being that my original PSP was jailbroke, I went through the whole thing to where I could read the ISO file, and I copied the ISO file over and renamed it. And yeah, it runs on a computer exponentially faster than it does as even a file on a good PS3 or PSP.
Yeah.
But like right now, I've been playing since I got through Suikoden 4. I've been playing Suikoden Tactics because I have my PC.
That game is heresy.
PCSX2.
Tactics? I haven't played Tactics.
Suikoden?
No, I'm talking about Suikoden 4. It's heresy.
How?
Laszlo Kun Eldest. He brings up the fact that, oh yeah, you could be my son, and never fucking goes, wait a minute.
I think they cut a lot from that, and
I don't remember that being in the American one. But then again,
if you play Tactics, the main character's name in that game is Laszlo.
Well, if you play Tactics and you don't have any 108 star save file, star of Destiny file, it defaults to what it would ever be. Otherwise, if you have saved the 108 star Destiny file saved and you load that one in there, whatever you name the main character in 4 is the name of the main character in Tactics.
I know, but still, the
default is supposed to be Laszlo.
Five is better.
But
5 is better.
in my game, he's not Laszlo. He's Rotn.
Rotn Kuhn eldest.
I mean, are you that surprised that a king would basically spread his seed?
No, it's not that he spread his seed. It's the fact that he is not. He. There's a scene where he says, "Oh yeah, my son and my wife were lost at sea. Oh, you would be my son's age if he were still alive." It clearly sets up that you are the king's kid, and it should, because you're technically the main chick that you're supposed to be getting with is the princess.
No, you're wrong.
Like, no,
There's not even any freaking romanticism of the main character.
if you know about the stars of destiny and where they come from, you would instantly know that those two stars are supposed to be together. Like in the original Outlaws of the Marsh, the two stars that those two represent were lovers.
Well, you know, there's no guarantee that he is necessarily his son. It's implied. The only game that I know of that actually went through and like, oh, my son would be about that age because it's like my daughter wanted to have a son and her name is the same name of your mother, and that whole thing is in The Legend of Dragoon when Hashel finds out what Dart's mother's name is Claire, if memory serves me correctly, and what seals it is when he hears I cannot remember her name.
They may want to play Lost Odyssey for sure.
I think it's mentioned in the books.
The manga, it is mentioned that they're related.
But yeah, like they had a lot of stuff that they could have put a cutscene, something like they kind of hint to it throughout the game that there's a connection between Lino and Kuldis, Flair, and the main character, but they never like follow through with that. Like you would think that's kind of a big fucking deal,
especially since how he's an orphan, he doesn't know who his family is, and there his father and sister are.
Oh, and there was a little thing about a rune there that kind of fucked things up for him too.
Yeah, the Rune of Punishment that actually turns out in a way, final boss you fight that, you know, awakens the tree that creates the ammo for the rune cannons is actually one of the original holders of the rune, and somehow how he got out of it was by cutting his arm off.
And he fucking wants it back. That's the whole reason for the war. He wants it back.
Well, it's not the whole reason for the war isn't the fact that he wants it back, even though it's kind of funny because the other one that the Kuluk would have had the issue with would have been the Scarlet Empire, which was what Eleanor was originally from. Which just gets into the weirder shit, and that whole thing was that he wanted it back because he realized what the power it had comparatively to the rune cannons, so he wanted to use it basically as a power factor to help the Kuluk Empire grow, and for him to eventually probably take over.
Am I the only one that's like majorly disappointed by Troy?
No.
Oh, what, the ending point to where it's like he goes and has the one-on-one duel with them, and then it's just like, nah, man, I'm gonna go down with my ship.
Yep.
Yeah, that was so fucking stupid.
Like, the way I thought it, because the way I thought it is that he had a true rune, but I don't think he ended up actually having one. But
no, he just had a wind rune.
In that one were the star rune, the one that Leknot always has, because she's technically there.
Who?
Ted's rune, which is the rune of death.
Yeah, the soul rune. Yeah, the rune of punishment, the soul rune, and then I don't remember, what was the other one you said?
Punishment.
No, the first one.
Oh, the star rune from Leknot.
Yeah.
Because Leknot's in the game. Like, you don't get her as a party member, but she pops up constantly in that game.
In 4?
Are you talking about the spirit? Are you talking about the spirit that talks to the main character?
Yeah, that's Leknot.
Oh,
never mind.
Yeah, I haven't played 5, so.
No, if you played 1 or 2, you would know that's Leknot.
Oh no, yeah, I haven't played 1 or 2.
I was thinking.
I
You
gotta
said
find out
Star
some
Rune.
point.
I was thinking. Zerice.
Oh no, I'm talking about the one that holds the Stone of Destiny, with all the stars are listed.
Yeah.
That's Leknot. She has the true rune.
Yeah, she's got the not the circle rune. The
She has stars.
rune of gate.
Gate rune. My bad. I'm sorry. She had the gate rune. My bad. Because
No,
her sister
Zerice
had the back gate, the back door,
Yeah.
the back door rune.
Wendy, that whore.
Hey. But again, it was only like 3 true runes in that game. Maybe 4 if you squint your eyes, dot your T's.
Yeah, I don't know. We've devolved into now video game stuff. We'll have to save that for another stream.
Yeah,
Sorry.
we'll save that one for James.
Right.
We did just watch Dogma, which was a seriously awesome movie.
It was.
It's one of those things we really don't have anything bad to say about it, so it's just kind of there.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
Okay, something bad to say about it.
the shit demon.
I really wish that God would have had more mercy on fucking the 2 angels, and like, all right, fine, come on home.
There was.
That was
Did you miss
that was the whole thing was
that happened?
No, she essentially annihilated them.
yes, that was her mercy. Well, that was her mercy for Bartleby. For Loki, he just got to die because everything he kept to what it was.
Bartleby killed him.
Yeah, because Bartleby killed him, and that whole
Bartleby
thing.
fell hard. He essentially became Lucifer.
Oh yeah, that was the whole thing. Was it was supposed to represent, as like he said, that's Lucifer. And the only thing to where it's like, if we're gonna go off the Bible and what it was, but granted they're going to the whole thing of that is technically God would still be a man. And I know the whole thing is like, oh, because it'd be like, Father in heaven, Mother earth type thing for some folks. But if it was the whole thing, then Eve would have been made first before Adam, because that would have actually made more sense. That's getting into the whole biblical thing and whatnot, and then it all depends on if you want to go off the whole like Old Testament of the Torah aspect of it, where it wasn't edited, because then technically the first one wouldn't actually be Eve. The first one would be Lilith, which is one of the first demons, and she was cast out of Eden because she wouldn't be subservient, because during intercourse she actually wanted to ride on top, was one of the things. So that's why the rib had to be taken to make Eve, because they had to make something or take something from Adam to make the companion subservient to Adam.
Mm-hmm.
It's
And
sad.
Cain is the first vampire.
Huh?
And Cain is the first vampire.
Yes, Cain is the first vampire and father of all the clans.
Sounds really Canaanist to you.
He is the father of all the vampire clans.
And
Well,
depending on which story in that whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, in the White Wolf gaming system, Cain is the father of all vampires.
God gave him 3 curses: immortality, you can't walk under my light, and you must thirst for blood.
Yep.
You will never be sated by anything but blood. The blood of your brother.
Which is the Book of Nod.
Yep.
But, anywho, it's all, and if you're a Satanist, all you are is a believer in the reverse Catholic Church.
Pretty much.
I mean, so there's
But
no
they gotta
real,
win.
there's no real, what do they do in the Catholic Church now? Let's do the backwards of it. Because our whole religion is based on, like, Eobard Thawne bullshit.
I don't knock religions often, but I knock that religion. They're stupid.
Yeah.
Well, like, there's
Flesh.
There's parts of Satanism that it's like I don't really mind so much of like some of the commandments. That's basically, you know, a lot of things are like keep your hands to yourself. Quite literally, it's that whole thing. It's like if you're walking upon someone and they're not trying to bother you, basically leave them be.
Yeah.
But it's like that's just a big whatever. And still the whole thing I know is some people being like, well, Satan was the first one for equal rights. No, he wasn't.
No, he was for supremacy.
Satan went the whole thing of like, depending on which kind of a thing of you're reading, but pretty much had it that he decided he was going to fight God because he got pissed and believed that he could take the same power as God. And then when he found out, no, we can't actually do that. Well, if I can't have it, no one can. So I'm going to flip the table.
So one of the stories of Lucifer's fall I like is that Lucifer didn't want to serve man. Like, I'm serving a fucking monkey. Why am I serving a monkey? And he rebelled that way. That's why he rebelled.
Well, the whole thing was that, as it's been put in everything, is that, you know, man was made in the image of God, so that's why the way it is, it's like we look the way we do in that whole thing. And it was that whole thing of as being pretty much the head cherub in a lot of things, since he was basically like the head minstrel in a lot of cases. You know, all of a sudden God brings this another person. He's like, hey, by the way, this is my new right-hand man. And Lucifer is like, but wait a minute, that's me. That's supposed to be me. I'm your right-hand man. Like, I'm your number two. Who the fuck's this guy? He's you, but he's not you? This doesn't make no sense. Because like you're talking about more of like you're talking about more of like the whole thing for like Paradise Lost, and that's where one of the other big things has come. I think there's in the book of Ezekiel, when Ezekiel's talking to some king, he's implying that the king is actually Lucifer, and that Lucifer was the one who turned into the serpent to tempt Eve. And in that whole scenario, I know people want to be somewhat pissed about it and whatnot, being like, oh well, how could Eve should have known better? It's like you're talking to people that knew nothing of it. The tree of knowledge wasn't actually the whole thing of, oh, they get to learn everything. Was they also got to learn what was bad and would have knowledge of like bad things and guilt and shit like that.
All right, so this is not me knocking the religion. This is me knocking the story. That story is kind of fucked up, dude. Here's this big beautiful garden. You can do whatever the fuck you want, but that one tree, which shouldn't even be there. Because
2 trees. 2 trees.
Well, the tree of knowledge.
There were 2 trees that were not to eat from. The tree of the knowledge of good and evil.
And the tree of life. But why even put them, like, you could have made a big ass gate and put like, you know what? You guys.
Because that was the whole thing, was we were given the choice.
That was the point. Man had choice. Man had free will. We could have chosen not to fall, not to be duped.
Yeah. It was pretty much the whole thing of, like, I know a lot of people
had to go and fuck it up for everyone.
Well, I mean, how easy was it to trick your kids when they didn't know any better, Johnny? Because that's the honestly, that is the actual like, going to equate it. You have someone that doesn't know any better, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, here's a serpent talking about how they ate from this tree and ate the fruit, and it gave them that power. And you've never heard anything like that. Because that's the thing, is like, for when they were warned that Satan would be coming and going to tempt them, because God actually tell the angels to tell them that they will be tempted in that whole thing. And he told the angels not to interfere in that portion. This was basically a test of Adam and Eve. So they were expecting a more straightforward of like Lucifer showing who he was and to go through that. They weren't expecting the whole rigmarole.
Yeah, and it's not like you can. There's nothing to cite for a reference. Be like, oh yeah, you know. It's like, you remember that one? Oh wait, no, this is the one time.
And then the funny part is even, and depending on which story you read of that, like with Paradise Lost in that one, which is really cool, and that whole thing, the reason why it's like Eve brings the fruit to Adam because she knows that because she ate from it and she realized that she's going to be cast out of Eden regardless. And if she gets cast out, there's a high plausibility that God will just make a new Eve. And so she falls into the whole thing that it's like, no, I can't let that happen. So she brings the fruit to Adam. And what's funny is actually in a lot of things, Eve gets way more reverence than people realize, even in the Bible. Like, quite literally, she's considered the mother of all before any of this even happened. But she brings the fruit to Adam. Adam knows what it is, knows that she's bound to fall and suffer, but loves her so much that says, I'm just going to eat from the fruit anyways, and whatever happens will happen, and I will stay with the woman I love. But he was forever chasing who he thought she was and not what she had become. And then both of them were no longer, after eating it, were no longer who they used to be. Because, like, when they went and had sex after that, there was more shame in it than usual, because apparently they just used to go at it out in the open, and it was more loving than it was lustfulness. So per that, I'm guessing it's supposed to be with, like, you know, obviously married, but sex isn't technically a bad thing.
No, sex is never a bad thing. I mean, and that's where a lot of people get it screwed up, is that sex is evil, sex is horrible, but that's not the case. Sex is a wonderful thing but you're not supposed to share that gift with everybody.
Yeah. It's not supposed to be the free love coalition.
Exactly. I mean, it's a gift. There's a reason why they call
Good.
giving a part of yourself. Because, yeah, eventually you become an empty vessel. That's why there's such a word as cum dumpsters.
I was just laughing a little to myself because it's like, man, we went from the movie that kind of had like some religious overtones and whatnot to talking about like how things were of having loss and whatnot when we were younger, to then to a video game series, then to a theological debate again in a way. Like,
well, the movie literally was.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, we're going way further than what the movie was going into.
Yeah, we've left the movie again completely.
Oh, yeah.
You're welcome.
But I was basically saying Kevin Smith was, or Dogma rather, was Kevin Smith's way of dealing with his anger with God after his father died.
Have you seen the Netflix show Record of Ragnarok? It's an anime.
I watched.
It's on Netflix.
I think I'm on 3 episodes.
So you've already gotten Adam.
Just started.
His story is awesome in this show.
Yeah.
You've caught on that he spit out the apple, right?
I haven't gotten that far because
Oh.
I just haven't jumped back into it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm so far behind on most anime and whatnot that I kind of stopped trying.
Record of Ragnarok is pretty damn good.
Well, I don't have Netflix anyways. I know it's supposed to be like, it's basically kind of like Mortal Kombat of the gods.
Basically, it is. It's
gods versus humans.
Yeah, and each human has a champion who was the strongest and yada yada of all the humans is at the Valkyrie's disposal, because what they're doing is combining theology with mythology. And it's hilarious. It is just wow, because they're going everywhere from Buddha or Buddhism. Yeah, it is just every religion is called into question here.
Yeah, there's Buddhism, there's the Greek mythology, there's Norse mythology.
And then there's your Indian mythology.
Mm-hmm.
And we're talking dot, not feather.
Yeah.
Which I love.
7-Eleven, not casino.
Exactly.
Call centers, not casino. Yeah.
Which I love Prospero for that. Just who says that distinction all the time? Dot, not feather.
Customer service representative, not blackjack dealer.
Tech support.
No, because like once I get done with catching up on what I want to watch on Wendigoon, just because there's been some things in there, I'm probably going to go back and finish where I was at in Yu Yu Hakusho. I still need to... Of the things that I've been watching and need to catch up on, I still have to finish where I was at in the 2003 series of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and get through the entirety of it, then get through the 2012 series, and I probably won't watch any of the newer ones, although I haven't heard the one that came after the 2012 to where they went a little bit differently and made Raph the leader and whatnot. I've heard some actual decent reviews. I might have to check that one out.
This new iteration?
I ain't watching that one.
Fuck that.
Like, look, I can deal with the April O'Neil being black because I want to say they did in the last cartoon, and that, which I'm fine with. I know there's a lot of people that want to be like, oh, it's not canon, blah, blah, whatnot. It's simple, you just say in this iteration. Boom. Because not every iteration of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles follows the canon. Like, most people think that the canon is that April O'Neil is a reporter because they watched the 1980s cartoon when April O'Neil was not a reporter. She dressed up as a reporter once. That's like, I want to say, if memory serves me correctly, the 2003 series, just like the original TV, or the original movie, had Splinter closer to corrective, where he was actually just a rat and not a person changed into a rat.
Uh-huh.
And it's funny.
I'm
Go ahead.
gonna have to duck out. So
yeah, I think we're gonna wrap up here shortly. We've gone a bit off the rails, and
yeah, just a bit.
it is. But if you're gonna duck out, go ahead. You got anything you want to shill?
No, just I do want to because we had Mr. Scott jump in, and he brought up having to watch Smoke Signals. If you guys haven't seen that, we've been planning that Camel Knife for about 2 or 3 years. And then, like, COVID hit, and he had stuff with his grandma, and then stuff with his mom, and all that. And we planned it initially, and then just shit hit the fan from there. So
we could, if we did
we'll
that
definitely
one,
see about the end that one.
If we do that one and we do it on my channel, we'll have to try to figure out a day that like it's all of us, because from everything I know, Camel tends to work on these nights.
I think it would have to be either a Wednesday or a Thursday.
Yeah, and that would just mean I'd have to try to find one of those days. Like this Wednesday, I don't have the gym, so. But it had to be that whole thing of like we'd probably end up having to watch it on our own and then review it.
Yeah.
At a set time. So it has to be like watch on one day and then like do the rest later. But otherwise, take it easy, get some sleep.
Yes.
Take care of your litter. I don't mean your litter box. I mean your litters and your kids.
Yeah, my wife does that.
But we wrapping up in this whole thing. I think we're gonna go back and finally knock out Birdie, because it's been sitting in one of my folders, and I'm kind of tired of seeing it whenever I open up that folder. Because
all of us have been dreading it. It's kind of, we're dragging our feet.
Yeah, but we're gonna do. I think we're just gonna do we'll do a Nicolas Cage movie, something else, a Nicolas Cage movie, something else, just to try to break up the monotony until we start getting into the more modern ones. And that whole thing. Otherwise, you can find the rest of the co-hosts on all sorts of things. I know James is usually on Quippers United, plus he has his own Saturday stream. Angela has been joining occasionally on the Quippers things, and she's also been joining on James's streams. You got any other things you're on? You two?
No.
No, she jumped out.
Okay.
She had to go to bed.
That happens. And then she was also on Tier's stream that I was on as well on Saturday, so go check that out.
Yes.
So we'll be having that. Tier, you wanting to do a back and forth tour? One weekend do we do it on yours, one weekend do it on mine, or you just want to continue doing it on yours? Because I'm fine with that if you do. Did he duck out on me?
He probably went to sleep.
Nope.
Tier, you there?
Reiki.
Fucking modern seance, man.
Oh,
I saw something.
I saw something flash.
Here.
I think he's having some technical issues.
It's okay to sleep, dear.
And he's gone. And he's back.
And he's back. Yeah.
He's doing it from his phone now.
You there, Tier?
He's waking up like Bender.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I was saying it's cool. We can do it on mine.
Yeah, it's like I said, if you want to do it on yours, we can continue doing it on yours on Saturday. Otherwise, I'm plausibly willing to go the back and forth. I'll just have to make something for a midnight stream thing. We'll have to go through it.
We can do this. Or we can do the midnight show on my channel and do the Rotn reviews on yours.
Yeah, I still got to figure out something else I want to do at some point. And now that I got my one camera figured out, that's what I need to look up was a goddamn tripod.
I even have I've been trying to design my the logo for the stream. So yeah.
Just start simple and we'll go from there.
I'll show you what I got so far. I have Midjourney. I've been using that.
Yeah, I use Paint.net on majority of things and just find frickin' pictures and then other stuff in PNGs and start layering shit and whatnot. But otherwise, that'll be it. And I'll look at this thing real quick. And well, luckily we've had no porn bots, so that's good.
Always a plus.
And that whole thing. Otherwise, yep. Everyone else, hope you have a good week going into Monday.
Okay. You're invited. Like I said, you have an open invitation to the midnight show.
Just remember, without paying for it, you can only have 6 people on.
And I'm probably going to pay for it starting next month.
You do you, babe.
What, Bernie Cat? What do you want?
But I hope you all have a good night. We're going to get out of here. We'll be on again next week and some other things. Check out everyone else. I should update and have Johnny's Twitter in there as well. But you can find him. I want to say it's what? At Johnny Hellcat?
At Johnny Hellcat 81.
At Johnny Hellcat 81. I'll try to remember to throw that in there. But have a good night, everyone. Have a good week. Don't be stupid. Or don't be extremely stupid. You can be a little stupid as a treat. Later, folks. And stopping and